Okay, so here is the website that contains my 5 tools. Across the top you see a series of buttons: sign in, home, tags, media, response, checkpoint, followers, support and recognize. Down the bottom there are some more buttons which refer to documentation. The first page, the home page, has an introduction and basically instructions about each tool. So if I try and use this without signing in, you'll get an error message: you need to sign in, and that'll stay there. So I hit the sign in button and we'll see whether it's the long version or the short version, and it's the short version, and as you can see I'm now signed in. What it just did was it went to Instagram, did the server-side process for authentication and pulled back the authorization token and the parts of the profile. So if we have a look at the first tool, tags, wait for it, and here we have a form that allows you to explore the tags that are already on Instagram. Let's say that our brand owner or advertiser needs to put up a piece of media that is about fish, and it's close-ups. So he thinks, well, it's a macro, isn't it? And it happens to be a picture of a halibut. How do you spell halibut? And so he puts those in the include words. He doesn't like sardines, so he'll put sardines in the exclude words. And the owner of this media happens to be Fred's Fish Cooperative. He wants 30 tags to come back, so he leaves 30 alone, and he hits submit. Now what it's going to do is it's going to take those keywords he supplied, go after a thesaurus, get all the synonyms, and then it's going to prune all the excluded words out of that synonym list and then match against Instagram, and it's done. This block of tags has that number of media attached to it, and here's the list of individual media with their counts next to them, and here's the block, and he could take that and paste it into a text editor and do further manipulation of it. You have to do further manipulation because, for example, macro, you might think it's about macro photography, but no, it's about things like vitamins and eating healthily and having big muscles. Now, the home button basically takes you back to that first page, and there it is. The second tool is media, and what this tool does is it lists all your media in order of the response you got, so the number of likes and the number of comments. And it does some metrics on it, basically number of likes per day, number of comments per day. It's getting there, it's got everything back, now it's displaying it, and there we have our table. So I currently have 272 pictures, I don't do videos. Likes, I have 29,000 likes, and I average about 107 per picture. I average 6 comments per picture, and I've had 1,500 comments. Now my best picture obviously is this dewdrop on both scale. It's got a metric of likes per day of 8.23, and it's been up for about 43 days. Total number of likes of 354. Now if I wanted to see the media that has had the least impact, I just hit this likes button, and if we wait for it, sometimes these buttons misfire. There we go. And we have this poor old Casserie who only 4 people liked it. and it's been up there 122 days and so on, and you can do that right the way across. This table is exactly the same, except instead of likes it's doing comments. My next tool is respond, and this is very important. You've got to build relationship with the people who are your audience, and this would be a prime thing that brand owners and advertisers would need to do. So it's actually fairly difficult to identify which pictures have had new comments on, unless you're prepared to spend hours going through the media stream and looking for new comments. This does it for you. Okay, so our next tool is respond, and this goes through your media stream and basically identifies new comments. It does this based on a timestamp, the timestamp of when you've run this and the timestamp of when you want to checkpoint. So it's now going out there finding these comments. It's actually fairly difficult to do, but it is essential for a business, brand owner, advertiser to be able to continue to have dialogue with their audience, and so build rapport and engagement. As you can see, now it has found some. It is opening them in tabs on this browser. Whether it opens them in tabs or windows is dependent on the browser and the settings in this browser. All these images are my images, and we'll have a look in a minute. Yes, and this one, I fiddled the timestamps on this to make sure that some came back, and as you can see, it's displayed in the Instagram website. It has all the normal things, nothing special, and then you proceed to comment and respond to these comments in the normal fashion. Once you have done that to your satisfaction, you delete it, and so I'll delete all these and go back to the tools page. Now that I've actually done that, I can take the next step. I'm happy that I'm up to date on my comments, so I hit checkpoint. This is guarded by a dialog box so that you don't do it by accident. Once I hit that, the timestamp will then be when I hit the respond button to start that all-in process. So I'll hit that and give it a couple of seconds. Everything's really slow today, I don't know why, and we're done. So next time I hit that, it won't actually find anything because we're up to date. Unless of course someone has commented in the meantime. The next tool is followers. And this allows you to see what the relationship is between you and a follower. So full relationship, you're following them, they're following you. If they're just following you or if you're just following them. And this is useful because with the 7,500 limit you can of course identify people who are not following you and proceed to delete them, unfollow them, or if you're wanting to see what your actual engagement is, depending on what your business rules are around this. As you can see, I've got 972 people in full relationship with me. I've got no one that I'm following that isn't following me, and I've got a series who are following me that I'm not following. Now, if you look down here, these are actually URLs of the profile, and you can go there to follow or unfollow them or to read up about them. These buttons up the top allow you to launch that whole column. I'll never actually launch this column. There's much too many people there. But I'll launch this one and we should end up with 6 extra tabs, because that's what my browser does. Again, we are looking at stuff on the Instagram website. I don't reproduce any of this stuff. I'm just doing plumbing. and as you can see, I've requested and T Deans has not responded with a yes or a no. So I can delete that. This one's a spam bot. I tend not to follow spam bots. Another requested, another spam bot, another requested, and I think the last one's a requested too. Yep. So that's followers. The final tool for this version is support, and this tool is by far the costliest in terms of the work it actually does. It makes lots of calls to Instagram and so is incredibly slow. We'll just follow it for a little bit. As you can see, it's proceeding to get the pictures. So it is looking through all my pictures, getting the list of them, and now it is going through each picture and building lists of people who've liked and commented. Now I have 272 pictures up there. We don't want to wait for that, so I've actually run it in a separate browser, and it's still going. It's up to 247. Now notice that the dialog box is different on this one. This is because Firefox, which is this browser, doesn't yet support HTML 5.1, and dialog is an HTML 5.1 widget element, but it degrades quite nicely and you just get this extra box up the top. So we're up to 257. Very much this tool I don't run often, but is very valuable, and when I do run it I tend to go off and get myself a cup of coffee while I'm waiting. Still going. 67, 267, 4 to go. So a lot of work happening in the background. That's 72. Okay, now it's processing followers, building those lists, doing some summing, massaging the data, and now it's displaying. Big table. So all that work's done on the server side, and this web page is just a client. Still waiting. There we go. Okay, so this is the table. Yep, there are the thumbnails getting loaded. So Ivan Gani, if that's how you pronounce it, is my most engaged follower. He has a score of 224. So for every like that he's given me, he's got 1 point. For every comment he's made, he's got 5 points. He is a follower, I can see, because in the follower column it says yes. And then in the recognised, apparently I've recognised him 3 times, and so I should have. He's such a great follower. Across the top here we have some other stats. 8,019 is the follower score. The other score is 18,096. So in actual fact my reach beyond my followers is actually fairly good. It's about 2 to 1. So under their pictures, their profile pictures, their URL, if I wanted to go and have another look. And now we get to the point where the only place where, apart from profile pictures, I display other people's content. The prime way that I recognize people is through reposting their media. I go to their media stream, I choose something that I like, I put borders on it, put a clear statement that it belongs to them, and then I post it. So if I hit this repost button, I'm going to do some more work. The information about what we're doing comes up, the actual logging comes up, and we wait, and it's going to open in a new window, or new tab I should say. No, in the same tab. I was wrong. So here we go. I choose one of these. I'm looking for something that I like, that I'm prepared to show to on my stream and to advertise. So I always like sunsets. I'll hit this one, and 2 seconds later, here we are. Here is a sunset. It's by Juilliard Photography. It clearly says it's been reposted. It's got the profile picture, and it's got a link to her profile. So, and it's got a repost symbol on it. So it's very, very clear that it belongs to her. If you look down here, you can just see her copyright stencil on top, her watermark. I have not made any changes to this picture apart from shrinking it a little to allow room for the borders with the standard Instagram size. So this is 1080 by 1080. And yep, so that's repost. So when I want to repost it, I right click, I say save, put it on my phone and push it up. I also, as a matter of courtesy, and so that they can object if they like, a few days before I contact them via Instagram and tell them that I'm going to do this. So that is my tool, my set of tools. As you can see, I've got some adverts. These two adverts that are working point to my media and my shop. So these are my two ads. There's 2 places here for a contracted advertiser, and I've put in the same size so that I can be sure that it looks right. Down the bottom here we have a series of information. Terms of service, very simple. Basically it's an as-is site, use at your own risk and no responsibility taken. The platform policy for Instagram requires me to have a privacy policy, and here it is. It also requires me to make a statement about advertising. So it clearly states that in the privacy policy, describes the 2 types of advertising, mine and the contracted advertiser. And then it describes the information that is stored. Now, I thought it was important to have a philosophy of stored information, because really I didn't want to store any information at all. One of the reasons why I nutted her over how to authenticate against Instagram was I didn't want to store usernames and passwords. I don't want to store information, I don't want the responsibility. So very, very limited storage, and only stored as little time as possible. So the first thing is per session. Now I run a PHP session, and I store in that session the numeric Instagram ID, the authorization token, the username in text, so like very eclectic, and the profile picture, URL to the profile picture. That's all I store in the session. And once you hit log out, so this button here, which has appeared when I logged in, it takes away the authorization token. He just blanks it out. When you exit from the browser, it is supposed to delete the session, and that depends based on the browser itself. So apart from the session storage, you have the permanent storage, and I store very little in that area as well. So there's only two tables. The first one supports responding and checkpointing, and it's a table that consists of three fields. There is your numeric ID, so very eclectics, the person whom you, the numeric ID and two timestamps. The first one is the timestamp of where you're up to in terms of your comments. Any comments made after that time are shown when you hit respond. The second timestamp is the time that you actually pressed the respond button, which means that when you come to checkpoint, all it does is it copies across that time so that you can catch anything that was made after you press that button. So that's one table. The other table supports support and recognize, and basically it consists of two numeric IDs, Instagram IDs. One is yours and the other one is the person that you want to recognize. The only other field is the count of times that you have recognized them. Because there are many people who aren't as technically literate as I am, I also make a mention of server logs and point out that anything you do on the internet will be logged, and while I don't have access, you don't know who does have access to them. So that's my privacy statement. Frequently asked questions. I have a series of questions mainly about HTML5. One of the things I've got to do before I go live is to go through this and check that I've got it all right. And finally, we've got a copyright notice, and it basically says two things. Firstly, all the stuff that I've placed up here is mine. Anything that's been pulled in from Instagram or elsewhere belongs to the people who own it. I'm not making any claim, and I'm attempting to make the claim that I don't own anything that I pull in from other people's media feeds. So the final thing is log out. I hit the button and we revert to guest.